Turn heads and bring the hype with a custom hype chain from Lotwin. Perfect for youth sports, fantasy football, or just flexing your pride. Go to Lotwin.com, use the promo code TCCPOD for 10% off your order. That's Lotwin.com, promo code TCCPOD for 10% off. Get your custom hype chain and get hype with Lotwin. What's up, everyone? Welcome to This Day in Philly Sports History for October 2nd, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Thursday edition of the podcast. Coming at you a little bit later today because of being off of work. But Gammar, Hatema, Tova, to everyone out there celebrating. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But all the well wishes for everybody out there celebrating today. All right, so it's Phillies Dodgers, pretty much what we expected. And I mean, the Dodgers did what they should have done to the Reds. So it's Phillies Dodgers starting tomorrow. The Red October Express is on the track, heading straight for Citizens Bank Park Saturday evening. Either it's 6:08 or 6:38, depending on what happens with the Yankees Red Sox tonight. I will be in attendance. Got standing room tickets, so looking forward to that. Going to be a good sports weekend. Just might as well get a hotel room in South Philly. Citizens Bank Park Saturday night. Lincoln Financial Field Sunday afternoon. Bed by about 6:30 on Sunday night. But I think the Phillies and Dodgers, yes, it's going to be a tough matchup. I know a lot of people were talking and through social media and on the radio stations about being nervous to play the Dodgers. And it's not the... Let me figure out how I want to put this, because I think you can throw out everything you have. The two teams have done in the past in the postseason. I don't think like what happened in the 70 NLCS or the 2008, 2009 NLCS, none of that matters. But the Phillies do have a decent track record against the Dodgers in the playoffs. It's going to be a fun matchup. I mean, the Phillies just went out there. They always seem to play well against the Dodgers. We'll have more on the series tomorrow, but I think as long as I don't think the Dodgers can beat the Phillies. The Phillies need to play their game in order to win this series. And like I said, we'll get more into that. That means the hitters need to be consistent. They can't all go into a slump. That means the starters need to limit the home runs. I'm looking at you, Aaron Nola, if you happen to be on the roster. Like I said, the little things like that, they can't run into outs. And I think they'll be fine. It's going to be a fun series. Just without even really diving into it, I could very easily see this going 5 games. Split, and then come back to Citizens Bank Park to get a chance to go to the NLCS. But it'll be a lot of fun. They start this weekend. We'll preview the series tomorrow. Shout out to the 31,000 fans that showed up for an inter-squad scrimmage between the Phillies. Philly fans are just different, and I mean that in the most positive way ever. Longtime advocate for Philly fans, and that to me is incredible. That they had more people in an inter-squad scrimmage than I believe some teams averaged all year. That might have been even in Cleveland for game 1. So shout out to all 31,000 of you who went down there. That, is incredible. If you're looking to get a little bit pumped up for this series, there is a pump-up video released by the Phillies, narrated by Bryce Harper. Good job by the Phillies media team, as I was ready to run through a wall and hit some bombs myself. So go check that out if you can. And I do want to give a shout-out to my boy Johnny Marks, who is back on the radio. Congrats. But I was listening yesterday, and he had Jason Worth on for an interview. And this will be the last time we have to talk about this, because now we actually have an opponent. but he just laughed out loud at the Mets losing. It was making fun of them. He was like, it's great to see. So to hear Jason Worth still have that hatred for the Mets so many years later, you got to love it. But I thought that was great. All right, looking at 8 through 10 on my predictions for the season at the beginning of the season. Number 8, I said Brandon Marsh would be the best outfielder for the Phillies this season. I think he might have been. I mean, obviously, once Harrison Bader came in, that changed the narrative a little bit. But of all the guys that were here from the start of the season, Brandon Marsh hit 280, 43 RBI, 11 home runs, 25 doubles, and really has been a great hitter. One of the Phillies' best hitters, consistent hitters, since he came back from the disabled list, or the IL now. So I'm going to give myself a check for that one. Number 9, big trade deadline acquisition. Yep, they made not one, but 2. So obviously, Duran solidified the bullpen. You have your closer finally. And Bader was one of the, again, under the radar guys, but really, I think production on the field, obviously. But I think that intangible, that the swag that team has now is due in large part to Harrison Bader. So not one, but 2 big trade deadline acquisitions. Giving myself a check on that one. And this final one is still to be determined. I said this would be JT's last season in Philly. It's still to be determined, like I said. He may have likely played his way back into coming back next year. This season's outcome may impact whether or not he does, but there really are no other options. So I really think JT might be coming back. Marchand certainly didn't play the way. He was just inconsistent. So it seems likely he's coming back, but we'll still give this one an incomplete. So not too bad, about 50-50 on my predictions. I'll take that. Tomorrow we will go over the season totals and look at what I predicted for the outcome for the season, see if I changed my mind at all. And of course, we'll preview the Phillies Dodgers as we get ready for Red October. The Red October Express heading straight to Citizens Bank Park Saturday evening. I'll see you there. I'll pick you up on the concourse. All right, yesterday's trivia question. Who was the MVP of the 1980 NLCS? That would be Manny Trio. He hit 381, 4 RBI, a triple, 2 doubles, scored 2 runs, all on 8 hits. So kudos to Manny Trio for winning the 1980 NLCS. Lots of folks say Mike Schmidt. It was not Mike Schmidt. He was the MVP of the World Series. All right, some Eagles news. And we'll save the good stuff till last. But Quinyon Mitchell was the Defensive Player of the Week in the NFL. And then on Monday, when I gave my unfiltered whatever, I mentioned that Q played well, but got away with a couple questionable holding calls where he was pulling on the guy's jersey. I was listening to Brian Baldinger break it down a little bit the other day, and something that a lot of corners do. He's just the perfect place. But in looking at Baldy's film breakdown, Q actually had a very good game. So I didn't mean that to be Quinyon was a terrible player. He got away with a couple, and you're going to get away with a couple. Sometimes they're going to get called. But overall, he put the clamps on Emeka Ibuka. So shout out to Quinyon for being Defensive Player of the Week. And then AJ spoke. And a couple things on this. First and foremost, great move by AJ. Shout out to him for manning up and really owning it, because I think it would have been very easy for him to just go through and really just let this thing snowball. But basically apologized, acknowledged that he let his frustrations boil over, and said, I got to be better at that. I'm not looking to be the diva guy. Said he loves it here in Philly. And for the most part, I believe him. Why would he lie about it? We're all frustrated with the offense. So as one of the premier players in that offense, I mean, I would be pissed off and frustrated as well. And did he handle it and go about it the right way? No. But, I mean, he owned it, said he was wrong, and let's move on. There's no need to harp on this story. And I'm sure the media is still going to do what the media does. And I know the people in the media say, this is not us, this is AJ. You covered the story. AJ apologized. That's the end of the story. Move on. There's no need to drag this out. There's no need to create narratives to get clicks and likes and subscriptions, whatever. Let it go. He said it was wrong. The team's moving on. You guys need to move on. I'm perfectly, like I said, I am content with his apology. I respect that he owned it and said essentially, my bad. I let my emotions get the best of me. And as somebody who has sort of the same issue sometimes where my emotions get the best of me and I do and say some stupid things a lot of times in the heat of the moment. I'm working on getting better. We talk about it all the time on Tuesdays. I'm working on getting better. But sometimes you say and do things out of frustration because you're that mad. And obviously, we're not in the offense. We're not the one who is the premier receiver, the number one receiver on this team. So I get that he's frustrated because we're frustrated. He's got to be better with how he expresses that. But like I said, as someone who has been in that position where you send a text you shouldn't have sent or make a comment you shouldn't have commented, and I bet you he knew immediately after he sent that he probably shouldn't have. Didn't delete it, but that's okay. So we move on. This is the end of the story. I look for AJ to have a big game against the Broncos on Sunday. But if you want more Eagles, Kyle and I will be recording tonight the Brotherly Birds breakdown. We'll recap the Tampa game, talk, I'm sure, a lot about AJ, and then get you ready for the Broncos game on Sunday. So that will drop later tonight, hopefully by about halftime or so, maybe into the third quarter of Thursday Night Football. And that is available wherever you get your podcasts as well as on YouTube. Best way to stay in the loop, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Jimbo_Mont. And then be sure to follow me on social media at Philly Jimbo on all platforms. But the new Brotherly Birds breakdown will be out tonight. And I might as well throw this out there too. Tomorrow is the last day to get those raffle tickets to support the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. You get 2 home game tickets to every Eagles, Flyers, Sixers, Phillies, Union, and Philadelphia Wings. So go. Hit me up. I'll send you the link. It's $20. There's also a big screen TV, I think a 70-incher, and then a trip to Clearwater next spring, hopefully to be celebrating a World Series championship for the Phillies. But hit me up. Shoot me a message. I'll send you the link. You fill out the form. Send over a Venmo, write a check, however you want to do it, and you'll be good to go. But tomorrow is the deadline for that. So let me know if you want one of those raffle tickets. I have a little bit of Sixers news as well. Jarrett McCain did have his surgery on his thumb. He'll be reevaluated, the dreaded reevaluated in 4 weeks, and then we'll kind of see where he is from there. I'm sure if I know the Sixers, I'm sure there's going to be a ramping up period. They like to use that term a lot. So we'll see. But like I said, this could be anywhere from a 4 to 12 week injury. So hopefully we're on the 4 side. We'll see what happens in a month. Essentially, he's going to, without any ramping up period, he's going to miss at least, I think, the first 3 games of the season. But on the positive side, Quentin Grimes did sign his qualifying offer, 1 year, $8.7 million. Not bad for a guy who is going to be your 6th option on the team. And how bad did his agent and himself overvalue his worth? I mean, everybody looked at what he was doing while the Sixers were tanking and I think they thought he was going to be getting $20 million a year. Nah, Quentin, you're just the guy who somebody had to score the points and you happen to be the guy that scored the points. But I do think he's a nice piece. Whether or not he's going to be happy, whether or not he's going to ultimately end up being traded, we'll see. But Quentin Grimes is coming back to the Sixers. Not going to do it yet. Not going to do it yet. I'm not going to do it yet. Lucy, stay away from me. Not ready to do it yet. This day in Philly sports history is proud to be a part of the Clashing Conferences Sports Fan Network, a growing community of diehard fans turning their sports passion into something special. Whether you're looking for unique shows, want to launch your own podcast but don't have the time, or need production services, theclashingconferences.com has everything you need. Explore fan-driven content, become a member, or tap into their media services to level up your brand. That's clashingconferences.com, where fans' voices get heard. All right, October 2nd. Got a lot to get to today. First, in 1965, after beating the Mets 6-0 in Game 1 of a doubleheader up in Shea Stadium, the Phillies and the Mets played 18 scoreless innings before the game was called. Game 2 was just incredible. Chris Short was on the mound that day for the Phillies. He set the single-game Phillies record for strikeouts in a game with 18. He did it in 15 innings. Yes, he pitched 15 innings, gave up 9 hits, and walked 2, including those 18 strikeouts. But that is the Phillies single-game record. It took him 15 innings to do it. But Phillies win Game 1 of a doubleheader, 6-0, and the second game was scoreless after 18, so they called it. So essentially, the Phillies played a triple header that day. Quick one here, 1967, 2 years later, ground was broken for the new multi-purpose stadium in South Philly. Yes, Veterans Stadium had its groundbreaking on this day in 1967. You can still see the piece there over my left shoulder. Fast forward all the way to 1988. Eagles fall behind the Oilers 16-0 in the first quarter at the aforementioned Veterans Stadium. Cody Carlson was starting for the Oilers that day, filling in for an injured Warren Moon. But the Eagles came back with a vengeance, scoring 20 points in the second quarter. Randall throwing 2 touchdowns to Greg Garrity, the trash man, if you remember Greg Garrity out of Penn State. And Chris Carter, the defense on the day, forced 3 turnovers and sacked Cody Carlson 2 times, including a safety by Clyde Simmons. Eagles win 33-23. It was their first win of a streak where they'd win 9 of 12 en route to the NFC East title. Randall on the day threw for 289 yards. Those 2 touchdowns also ran one in as the Eagles beat the Oilers 32-23 at the Vet, thanks to some great play by Randall Cunningham and a safety by Clyde Simmons. Fast forward 20 years later, 2008, Brett Myers gave up a first-inning run to the Brewers, but the Phillies come back and score 5 in the bottom of the second, including a 2-out grand slam by Shane Victorino off of CC Sabathia, and that was preceded by a 9-pitch walk by Brett Myers where he kept fouling off pitches. The crowd was going nuts. It was just a lot of fun this game. But it was important that at bat by Myers because it turned over the lineup. Jimmy Rollins walked, and then up steps Shane. Grand slam off of CC Sabathia, who was on like 2 or 3 days rest going into that game, and really set the tone for that series as the Phillies win 5-2 to go up 2-0. Shane on the day went 3 for 4, 2 doubles, that slam, and 2 stolen bases. Phillies would go out and lose the first one in Milwaukee before winning Game 4 to win the series. But in 2008, Shane Victorino's grand slam did not crack the top 10 of our top Phillies postseason moments. More on that in a minute. And then 3 years later, in 2011, Phillies jump out to a 4-0 lead after 2 innings, but Cliff Lee struggled in the 4th, and the offense didn't really do much after those first 2 innings. Cardinals win Game 2 of the NLDS 5-4 to tie the series at 1 game apiece in front of 46,575 fans, which set a Citizens Bank Park record for attendance, largest in history. Unfortunately, we all know how that series would play out. The next home game was the 1-0. I believe it was Chris Carpenter and Roy Halladay, where Ryan Howard ruptured his Achilles, and the kind of symbolized the end of that era. But Phils lose 5-4 on this day in 2011. All right, it is Thursday. Time for a little Throwback Thursday brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com, use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. They got you covered for Red October. Eagles, the Union are playing for the Supporters Shield this weekend. Sixers and Flyers. Philly Goat has you covered. Scroll through their site and be sure to use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, so it doesn't always work out this way, but this one happens to be right on the same date. So we're going to go back to October 2nd, 1943 for this one. And the Philadelphia-Pittsburgh Steagles played their first ever game. If you don't know, back in the 1943 season, due to player shortages because of World War II, the Eagles and Steelers ended up combining teams for a season in order to continue to play. It really a move that helped save the NFL as well, because they were able, it was a condensed amount of teams, but they were able to survive. So the Eagles, Steelers, two teams of Pennsylvania combined unofficially. It was the PHI-Pitt team, I think is what it was called. But everybody called them the Steagles. But on this day, they beat the Brooklyn Dodgers 17-0. So the Steagles, though, was interesting. So Greasy Neal and Walt Kisling were the head coaches of the Eagles and Steelers, respectively. So they were the co-head coaches of this team. They hated each other. They hated each other before this even happened. So I think the story goes that while Kisling was at the train station or something, he was late to practice for some reason. Greasy Neal started putting in his offense. Kisling was not very happy about it, but they've decided that Greasy Neal would take over the offense. Kisling would take over the defense. But again, they hated each other. The players saw it. The players hated each other. It was a fierce rivalry, the Steelers and Eagles. Even though both teams were terrible during this time frame, it was a fierce rivalry, but they played together for the 43 season, split their home games between Philly and Pittsburgh, 4 in Philly, 2 in Pittsburgh. Interesting fact about the team, the players all held full-time war-related jobs. It was kind of the requirement, I think, imposed. I don't know if it was by the government or the NFL or the coaches or something, but they all worked full-time while also playing football. On the field, they went 5-4-1. Not bad. They were in it for the division title down to the end of the season. Even more ironic, it was the Eagles' first winning season in their team history. And don't get too excited, Steelers fans, if you're out there listening. It was only the second winning season for the Steelers. So these teams were not good in the early days of the NFL. But it was short-lived. Only 1 year as the Eagles went back to being the Philadelphia Eagles in 1944, would start gearing up and getting ready to be go to 3 straight NFL championships between 47 and 49. Steelers, meanwhile, the next year, they still needed a little bit of help, so they combined with the Chicago Cardinals for the 44 season. But the Philadelphia-Pittsburgh Steagles played their first ever game on this day in 1943, born out of necessity due to World War II. There's your history lessons, kids. There will be a quiz at the end of the week. But that is Throwback Thursday, brought to you by Philly Goat. Go to phillygoat.com. Use that promo code Jim Montgomery to take 10% off of your order. All right, and then finally, our top 10 Phillies postseason moments countdown continues, starting with moment number 8. Matt Stairs pinch hit home run in the 8th inning of the 08 NLCS against the Dodgers, gave the Phillies the 7-5 lead. Brad Lidge came in for a 4-out save. And I think what's lost, Phillies win 7-5. But I think what also gets lost in that is Victorino had another huge home run. He hit a 2-run homer, 3 batters before Matt Stairs did to tie that game for the Phillies. So giving Shane a little bit of 2 honorable mentions today. But today's moment, Matt Stairs pinch hit home run where Joe Buck said, Stairs rips one into the night. And it gave the Phillies, it was a pivotal game because that would have been tied 2-2. And who knows what would have happened. They had 1 more game in LA and then 2 more in Philly. But gave the Phillies a 3-1 series lead, which obviously they would win it the next night. I think it was the next night or 2 nights later. But Matt Stairs' pinch hit home run is our number 8 moment. Our number 7 moment, and then the rest of the time we'll do singles. But the number 7 moment, the 2009 NLDS Ryan Howard says, "Get me to the plate, boys," out in Colorado. And they got him to the plate. He hit the game-winning sacrifice fly in the top of the ninth. Phillies win the game 6-5 to go up 2-1. Again, another one of those pivotal moments that if it doesn't work out, who knows what happens? Because all of a sudden, the Rockies hold on to win that game, or it goes into extras. The Rockies go up 2-1, and then maybe we're not going to back-to-back World Series. So Howard was just so clutch. I think it's one of the most underrated parts of his game. People say, oh, he struck out too much, which his strikeouts are nothing compared to what you see in the Major League Baseball today. But I think his clutchness is often underrated. And he said, "Get me to the plate, boys." And sure enough, they did. He hit the game-winning sac fly. Phillies go up 2-1. They would close out the series then. But if he doesn't get that, if he strikes out there, all of a sudden the Rockies might be up 2-0. So those are our number 8 and number 7 moments in Phillies postseason history. We'll continue the countdown tomorrow and then through next week. But it does lead to today's trivia question. This was not a home run for Ryan Howard, but who is the Phillies' career leader in postseason home runs? Meaning, who has the most postseason home runs as a member of the Philly? Hit me up on the Discord channel. Back to the Future Voice and Text line 267-495-8531. Answer the trivia question. Get anything else Philly sports related off your chest. It's a good time of the year to be a Philly fan. But let me know the answer to that. Who is the Phillies' all-time leader in postseason home runs? And then let's vent. Let's get ready for the Dodgers. I expect everybody to be calling out Shohei for his translator, betting for him, I'm sure. But should be a fun series. All right. On this day, back in 1943, the Steagles, the team combined of the Eagles-Steelers, played their first ever game as a result of some consolidation due to World War II. 2011, Phillies lose Game 2 of the NLDS 5-4 to the Cardinals after jumping out to a 4-0 lead. 2008, it was the Phillies beating the Brewers 5-2 to go up 2-0, thanks in large part to Shane Victorino's grand slam off of CC Sabathia. Eagles beat the Oilers at the Vet 32-23. Randall had himself a game and ignited a nice little run that would end in an NFC East title for the Phils. Groundbreaking on the Vet started on this day in 1967, and in 1965, Chris Short pitched 15 scoreless innings, striking out 18 in an 18-inning tie, I guess you would call it. The game was called. I don't know if they ever made it up since it was so late in the season, but Chris Short with the Phillies record for single-game strikeouts. All right, we'll have more on the Eagles as we get ready for the Broncos. Don't forget, Brotherly Birds Breakdown will drop tonight, so just turn on your notifications on your YouTube channel or Spotify, wherever, and it'll be there as soon as I get it edited and put up. Also, start previewing the Dodgers-Phillies tomorrow. Union are looking for a supporter shield on Saturday. We might talk a little soccer tomorrow, the other kind of football. But this has been This Day in Philly Sports History for October 2nd, 2025. My name is Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Thursday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.